Okay, welcome. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you taking the time to learn more about what's new and exciting in active demand. And this presentation is focused primarily on communication. In other words, using the tools, active demand tools for communicating results, engaging with your clients, whether it's external clients as an agency or internal constituents. We understand the challenge that all marketers face, and it's a case that hopefully you see that some of the new things we're doing here will help you with the communication process. So I think we could all agree that as marketers, our job is really to unlock business potential for our internal constituents, our business, or for agencies, external clients. And really, it's about one is unlocking that untapped business potential, but also to build trust and strategic relationships with the constituents that we're marketing for, whether it's in-house or external. And I argue all marketers, it's a case that whether in-house or as agencies, whoever's paying the bills perceive that the switching costs for using their choice of people who are doing the marketing is perceived to be low. So it's unfortunate, but it's true, right? Is that it's a case that they think that, I'm using this agency and it's very easy to get another agency, or I have this person doing marketing and it's very easy to go find somebody who looks just like that person and can do the job. And it's a case that if the business potential isn't being unlocked, then there's somebody on the accounting side that says we have to cut costs. And it's a case that usually you see the case, and it's a mistake in my opinion, is that marketing is doing nothing anyways, let's just stop spending on that. And this really is a pain in cyclical business marketing segments. But at the end of the day is that some bean counter may not know, or maybe it's somebody in the business, that your client's business. The reality is if they're not seeing what the value is, then they're absolutely right, unfortunately. So the reality is, as marketers, it's very easy for us to get our constituents' attention, but I argue that unless you're communicating internally to your constituents, to your clients, in a way that they truly understand, then you will not be keeping their attention. And I think that there's several challenges we have as marketers in maintaining these strong strategic relationships with our client constituents. And I think the biggest one is that I just mentioned is trust. Is for agencies, they're not even employees, right? They're hired guns, and quite often, you may not know this, but they're probably maybe a threat to somebody who's not thinking about the business. They're just thinking about their own jobs. Marketing agency is actually a threat. So again, it's a case that there's this lack of trust. And quite often, as marketers, we erode this trust. So we start off at a position of lack of trust. Instead of building trust, we erode it. And it's really eroded through, of course, inconsistent quality of work, inconsistent response times. And this is an interesting one. It's inconsistent branding. In other words, the branding of who's actually delivering the results, right? So as an agency, it's your brand. As an internal marketing department, it's a personal brand. It's tying the results, the business results, to the group that's actually producing them. And I argue one of the biggest challenges to that I should say that agencies and marketers, one of the biggest things they do to erode trust is inconsistent communication. And which I'll talk about later in this presentation, is that hurt communication is vocabulary gap, domain gap, patience gap, and the attribution gap. And really the challenge is for us as marketers to consistently demonstrate the value we are delivering to our client constituents, whether it's, again, external or internal. And I'll talk about each of these in just a little bit. And this is a big one, is attribution, right? Is that us truly understanding what is producing the results, never mind who, and being able to communicate. So if we as the marketing team can't actually attribute the results to what we are doing, then we are just sending smoke signals and telling stories that have no bearing on reality. So definitely one of the strengths of ActiveDEMAND, everyone knows, is tracking. So definitely we need to be using the tracking and understanding, it's really our job to transform the data into information which people consume. And instead of just using three-letter acronyms, the one focus on the three-letter acronyms that actually mean something like return, right? So it's really about demonstrating the value we are delivering as marketers. And I argue it all is related to reporting and better reporting, right? And because reporting is our way of communicating what it is that we're being entrusted with budget and resources to unlock untapped business potential. And our means of communicating that, yes, we're actually using the funds wisely and the resources wisely, it's all about reporting. So the traditional approach for our marketers is once a month, engage with the constituents, maybe get them into a room, just dump a whole bunch of stats on them and make sure that there's lots of the corporate branding all over it, because clients love to see their own brand, right? And it's typically a lot of work. This was the traditional approach to communicating with clients. Or even worse is just waiting for the constituent to ask and then we tell, right? And that is absolutely the worst context for communication, right? It is just because they're not asking doesn't mean that they're not worried or happy, right? So definitely this traditional approach has been the ruin of many marketers, I argue, the traditional approaches. So a better solution is to consistently and continually demonstrate the value delivered, right? And getting that message to the right constituents and expanding the reach of this messaging to the internal constituents. I remember in one of my previous companies, it was a case that I used to have this daily report, and it was a pulse report of the global sales and engagement. And the audience of that internal report grew and grew and grew, and everybody looked forward to seeing that single set of KPI stats that really told the story to a large audience of people. And the subscribers to that report just kept increasing internally inside the company. And why is because the KPIs were relevant and actionable. So, and definitely it was the case that everybody who read that report was attributing the results that they were seeing to the who was actually delivering the report, which was my team. Right? So it's really ensuring, this is another one, is ensuring all the goals that are scored by your team are actually attributed to your team, because there's no shortage of people who are looking to take credit for results that are being delivered. So I argue one of the most important things in any type of communication, whether it's internally or externally as an agency, is to ensure that you're having this concept of brand the win. Make sure that the results are attributed to the group that is actually producing the wins. So really the common mistake, and it's really about one is the tempo, is celebrating the win 4 weeks after the game is gone. That was 4 weeks ago. The coach comes and tells you your kid did wonderful 4 weeks ago in a game. Yeah, sure, it's nice to hear, but it's better to actually be seeing it live or getting the feedback live. And making sure that, again, back to the brand to win, that we maintain brand consistency, because if you do not, sometimes you're branding with the corporate brand as an agency, and other times you're branding with the agency brand. Yeah, it's okay. Is this win from you guys or is it from us, right? So back to these 4 gaps, which is attribution gap, vocabulary gap, patience gap, domain gap. I'll talk about each of these. This will, just to tell you where we're going, we will be talking as far as communication. We're going to be talking about the new funnel capabilities and how we're able to use this to communicate, assess, collaborate, etc. So attribution gap, I think that I've sort of hinted at this. I think it's extremely important that we used to, when we were an agency, we called it closing the attribution gaps, right? First thing we did when we engaged with the client is ensure that we removed all email addresses from their website. Why? Because if somebody goes and takes that email address and emails the client, there's no way of tracking it, right? So we would switch it to forms and phone calls. So definitely we're tracking all the calls, we're tracking the channels, and we're definitely ensuring that we're able to control the communication with the company such that it was actually trackable. And if it's trackable, we can get the attribution. Back to my story about attribution. Patience gap. And it's, instead of waiting until somebody calls you or once a month to communicate with the constituents, it's best to drive the results as they happen, right? So there's literally, the closer you can get to the time of value realization, or the time the value is transferred to a client, and then them seeing your brand, the better, because they can see, I understand the win, I understand how we got to the win, it was you, right? So it's a case that, back to my comments about the internal report I was sending on a daily basis, it's try to increase the size of the audience in the client constituent, to the client constituents, to ensure that there's more and more people inside your client audience that are hearing about the wins. Tempo. So really, one is real time, right? Is getting an alert. I think that's the best. But if you're winning lots, then it'll become maybe noise. I remember one client as an agency saying, yeah, boy, you know, I'm constantly getting these notifications of all these people that are signing up. Just summarize it at the end of the day. Well, one is it's happy that you're getting all these signups, but the reality is that, again, it's about there is a barrier you don't want to cross where it's too much. Daily KPI reporting, I think, has been a strong thing for us when we were an agency, and I highly recommend it. It's, again, back to that story of when I was in my previous company, is getting a set of KPIs that are people understand and are actionable and in their inbox first thing that they see every morning. And then, of course, dashboards. We have a fantastic dashboard solution, which I'm sure all of you are using, where the client can, the constituents can log in and see the stats that are relevant to them. And then, of course, weekly roll-ups, monthly roll-ups. And then what I'm going to be talking about today is, of course, this new way of reporting, which is through funnel analytics. And vocabulary. This is a big one. When we're communicating, we're people talking to people. And it's a case that we as marketers, we understand things that most of the other constituents don't understand. That's why they're bringing us into the story, right? So stay off the stats. Talk about people, talk about individual buyer journeys or buyer wins, or account progress. Right? It's I remember at that same company I was talking, that I previously was an executive for, we had this concept of a gold club. And the gold club was really was reserved for those people at the end of the year. They got a nice plaque, and they got some you know, a trip for them and their family somewhere. And it was really reserved for those people that made the biggest impact on the business over the previous year. Let me tell you, no marketers were ever invited to the Gold Club. It was always the salespeople, right? Because they are right at the point of value realization and there to brand the win. Look at the goals I scored. Marketers are not talked about. So again, it's the point is that us as marketers, we have to be telling these stories of individual people and individual accounts as opposed to just dumping stats, because we understand the stats, they understand the reality with people. And business metrics, right, is definitely you need to understand them, and maybe you need to help your clients define them, right? So if they don't have the metrics, you need to define them. So again, things like CPC, click-through rates, visitors, conversions, none of that stuff is just as numbers. They're not business metrics. Likes, shares, retweets, again, garbage. Great for us, bad for communication. So we need to be thinking and relating what we're doing to close sales, actual customers, who they were, how we acquired them, and definitely key account penetration. This type of stuff is real, right? So it's really, again, it's I just want to keep echoing this. It's making sure that we have a good communication strategy internally with our constituents, and that we maintain the branding of the team that is actually producing the results. In other words, your team. So in ActiveDEMAND, the reporting systems we have, and it's definitely the dashboards. This is something that, again, a lot of our clients, and I'm sure everybody on the phone here has been using dashboards, creating dashboards for the clients, because really the dashboard, if you get it right, the client constituents are going to be logging in and seeing this set of stats that relate to their role in the company and the organization. And then the email reports, and this is really about sending consistent communication, right? So again, I can't stress enough the daily 1 or 2 KPIs that are actionable across all of the internal to the specific constituents. So with ActiveDEMAND, you have the ability to create multiple custom email reports and target them to internal audiences. So you can get the right 1 or 2 KPIs that are important for the specific groups internally, and have them, opt in, have an easy way for other people to, somebody forwards that email report to somebody else, have a link on it saying, hey, I want to opt into this report. And it's very easy to set them up, set up people to be pulled into these, increasing the audience of the KPI set. And the one I'm going to be talking about today is this new way of communicating with internal constituents, which is using funnel analytics and our funnel builder, because really this is going to tell the story of user journeys. So I'm just going to jump into it. And of course, as marketers, we are all, we have resources, we have budget, and we're using our intelligence and domain experience to take these resources, apply pressure to a large population of people with the intent of accelerating individual buyer journeys, right? So for example, this is a calendar campaign, and the calendar campaign is I'm going to do a bunch of social content. I'm going to do some emails, and really what I'm going to do is drive people, in this case, to a landing page that will get people to sign up for a sweepstakes, right? So we'll give away $25,000 for this window company, and so really the idea being is there's a huge value offer, get people to sign up, and then once they've signed up, we're going to try to get them to engage in more branded activity as a business. So we're promoting our landing page with social content. We're sending emails to our existing client database. We're also doing social content, tweeting, all of this type of stuff, and sending and doing blog content to get people to engage with this initiative. So now in the calendar campaign, if you're familiar with, you're familiar with our calendar campaigns, there is now a new tab, which you will see here, which is the funnel tab. And when you click this tab, it's going to show you, it's very similar to our workflow builder, but it's functionally, the use of this is very different. So on the right, you're going to see marketing channels, you're going to see landing page widgets, and you're going to see campaign widgets, and of course notes. So really the idea here, it's very similar to the workflow engine. I'm going to drag widgets from here onto the canvas. So if you see here, this is a landing page widget that I've pulled here, and these landing page widgets, I'll just pull one on here so you can see it. So for example, an appointment page, it's just a widget and it communicates that there's an appointment page in this initiative. And if I click it, I can either select one of the existing pages that I have in my campaigns, or I can use an external page, and this is any URL that has the active demand tracking script on it. Or I can just go and create a page if I need one. Just by clicking that, it'll create a page in this campaign. So the idea being is that I will show these assets, which are landing pages, because typically when we are doing marketing initiatives, we're trying to drive people to take action, which is as you know, in our terminology, are the goals, right? So in this campaign, I have my one landing page, and I've basically selected the landing page that's in this campaign. So this gives me a quick link to go edit the landing page, and of course a link here to go view the landing page. And what happens here is that, as you see, this is showing a picture of what the landing page is. So this is the default, you put a URL, the system will go do a screenshot of the landing page, or if I want to change the image, I can choose here and have my own image for the page. So here we have the landing page and we have the confirmation page. And if you see here, there's actually this little bubble up here, and this bubble will show on the right, there's an eyeball, which is saying that we're currently looking at the number of people that are visitors to that page. And we can switch it to MQLs, we can switch it to sales or goals. And what this says is 4 people have visited this page, and if I switch it to MQLs, it'll say how many people visited this page and eventually became a marketing qualified lead. Or I can switch it here, say how many people visited this page and eventually bought something or completed a campaign goal. So I can change what the stat is showing, as you see here. But also I get a nice view if I click this little icon here, is it'll give me the full stats of the page and the marketing source medians of everybody that's visited that page. And the idea here being is that I can actually draw a wire between one page and the next page. And what that will show you is that when I save the campaign, and I'll show you a live example of this in just a little bit, is it will actually show you how many people who came to this page actually traveled to this page. And I'll just give you a brief overview. So it looks like something like this, where you can actually see people moving from one page to the next. So back to this. So I've now got a landing page and I've got the confirmation page. And so what I'm going to do now is and the whole idea here is to communicate the flow of people for a specific marketing initiative. So in this case, the campaign is already built, but if you can imagine me proposing to do a campaign, and really the proposal to the constituents is, I'd like some budget for Google spend. I would like these are marketing channels that I'm dragging onto the canvas. I want to do some social content. I'm going to post some videos on YouTube about this, and I do want spend some budget on Facebook. So really what I'm doing is I'm taking these marketing channels to communicate to the internal constituents that I am going to be, this is what my plans are for this specific initiative. So when I put this on here, if you click this, for example, Google, and it really is, this should look familiar to everybody, is the UTM parameters of traffic. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do some Google spend. So I'll go Google CPC, right? And maybe I'm going to hope to spend some effort on the SEO of this. So I'll also do some, again, UTM parameters of Google organic, right? And with LinkedIn, YouTube, et cetera. And the idea being is I'm going to take this spend and this effort, and I'm going to try to drive people to this specific landing page. So I'm drawing wires to indicate flow from the individual marketing channel to this page. And I have control on each of these objects for the source, medium, campaign, the UTM parameters that we're all familiar with. And so really the idea being here is that we're able to, during the design phase of the initiative, right? You're able to communicate what how you're planning on spending the budget. And somebody might say, oh yeah, well, have you thought of doing Instagram posts on this initiative? Oh yeah, I never thought about that. So again, just to capture that discussion, you can drag Instagram on here and again, draw the wire up here, right? And you can do custom sources, etc. And then, so now we have this initiative, it's driving people to a confirmation page. And maybe somebody says, well, we've got their attention instead of sending them an email, and why don't we try to get them to upsell to maybe, buy, get a quote request on with an offer on the confirmation page. So maybe what I'm going to do is use a upsell page, and the page hasn't been built yet. And then if they take the upsell, fantastic, and this will tell me that they actually did take the upsell. So it's a case, and we've done this ourselves, is that quite often we'll look and see that, oh, why are we just giving these people just a thank you confirmation page? Why don't we've got their attention, why don't we take them to the next step of the journey by presenting them with some type of an offer, and then just presenting it here. So again, we've got the concept. Now to build the page, all we would do is go in here, new page, create the page, and now that page would actually exist in the story. So now that we have the initiative described with marketing channels to this page, to an upsell page, to a confirmation page, basically we've now have a way of describing an initiative that doesn't involve arm waving. It's real. You can actually see what each of the is a nice visual experience of seeing how the user flow will go. And then once you actually activate the campaign and start pushing traffic through the campaign, the exact same view that you used for collaborating on the initiative is used to measure the initiative, because literally once the campaign goes live, you will literally see the people in each of these bubbles flowing through the process. So this funnel tab in your calendar campaigns, it just shows up as a funnel. Now there's three basic types of campaigns in ActiveDEMAND. One is the calendar campaign, which you're seeing here. And then there's a generic campaign, which is another form of this calendar campaign. Both of those campaign types, you're going to see this funnel tab. Now for the campaign types that have a workflow as part of the campaign, like for example, a drip campaign or an event campaign, both of these campaign types do have an intrinsic workflow as part of the campaign structure. And so I'll show you how the funnel plays into the view of building out and working with campaigns that have an intrinsic workflow, because there's also some added benefits to how the funnel tool works with workflow-based campaigns. So we're doing a campaign right now, and it's here in Canada. It's the case that there's this government initiative that is basically the government's giving away a whole bunch of money to Canadian companies to adopt, to sort of become, I guess, incorporate digital assets in their business, right? So it's we're currently doing a webinar rather, that talks about this this government initiative. So just like all of our webinars, we're going to do a bunch of social content. So we really, with our event campaign type, we split the promotion of the webinar to the, so which is trying to get the registration. Then once we get the registration, there's a second piece to our event campaign, which is trying to ensure that the person shows up for the webinar that they've registered for. So we do a bunch of promotion, we send people to a landing page to register for the webinar, and then in the second piece of the event campaign, which is the workflow, we have a workflow built that once they've registered for the specific webinar time slot, the whole process of getting the person into the webinar is the same regardless of the time slots. So we have a workflow that's intrinsic to the event campaign. So once they register for the campaign, basically we're going to, if they registered 1 hour before, they're going to go in here and then go basically once they time out, it goes here. But the end of the day is that right now we're close to the webinar, so we're at this 24-hour reminder where people accumulate. And so there's 78 people sitting here waiting for the 24-hour reminder. And then basically, once the 24-hour reminder goes, it's going to go through to the wait to the 1 hour. Then we're going to actually send them the 1 hour reminder. Usually we have an email in here reminding people about the 24-hour, it's tomorrow. And then once the webinar executes, we're going to wait. Did they attend? If they did attend, we're going to try to get them to fill out a survey. If they then 1 day later, if they didn't attend, we're going to send them a sorry we missed you with a link to the webcast. And then for those that did attend, we're going to say here's the recording, and if they didn't fill out a survey, we're going to try to get them to fill out a survey. So that's the workflow. Now, as you see here, this tab is called Funnel Workflow. And why is that the funnel view shares the same editor as the workflow builder. So with this campaign, which is a event campaign, same with drip campaigns, the same view is used, the same editor rather is used for the two views. And for the workflow, where you see funnel workflow, you'll see this button here. This button allows you to toggle between the two views. So this is the workflow view, and these bubbles show people at specific wait states. And then when I toggle to funnel view, right, this now says marketing funnel view. There is now some new icons on here, and now this is showing you the funnel view of the initiative. So for this webinar, we're doing, email is a big driver of the initiative. We also have a partner that's doing the presentation with this. We've got some referrals. We're doing a bit of Facebook posts, as you saw. So again, I set up my marketing channels here. We're driving people to a webinar registration page. And then of course, once they register, and you can see 88 people hit the page, 61 of those people actually went to the confirmation page. Now, why this is 64, there was also other people that got to this page from a different direction, which I'll talk about. But then what we've done here on this page is we're trying to get people to, if they don't have a trial, we're going to show them a dynamic block. And with that dynamic block, we're going to say, hey, you don't have a trial, you should consider signing up for a trial, right? So this is showing the flow of people through this process. And then after the webinar is executed, we have emails to push people to the survey, and we're also going to push people to the webcast reporting. Then the second phase of promotion is going to happen, where we're actually going to use the webcast as content that we're going to be promoting, right? So we're going to send emails to promote the webcast, and we're part of our newsletter updates, this type of stuff. We're also going to be on a regular basis doing social content to push this content out to our audience. We're going to do blog posts, this type of stuff to drive people to this webcast registration. And once you get to the webcast registration, again, we're going to send people to the recording. Some people will have their anonymity removed and they will get the recording directly. This will show me how many people had to get their anonymity removed by filling out for the form. So you get the idea here is that we're able to show the flow of this initiative and show the flow of people from the different marketing channels. And again, here it's a case we have our date selector. we also can say, as you see here, 81 people viewed went from email to this landing page. I can change that to say, you know, how many eventually became MQLs, which is 3, which in other words, leads we sent to the sales folks. And how many people actually became sales? None yet, the webinar's early. And then of course, how many people actually completed goals? 42, which is people that have registered. So you can see, we can change the views on each of these bubbles. And when I look at this landing page here, I just click this view here, which brings up a summary tab of the people that are who have seen that page, regardless of the wires that are drawn. So we've got some very nice stats here, like click-through rate. In other words, people who hit the page and continued on after the page. How many people completed goal, bounce. In other words, they hit the page and bounced off the page. Revenue generated, because again, we're tracking the revenue as part of this, and again, the full set of stats as far as the different source medium campaigns that are driving people through the channel. So really, back to the my premise of or how I started out this presentation was really about how do we communicate with our constituents the work that we're doing, the results we're getting, and maintain the engagement with our client constituents, whether they're external or internal. So definitely we have the email reporting system. We've got the dashboards, which are really nice. And this is a new tool in your tool belt for one is collaborating while constructing initiatives. 2 is for communicating what an initiative would look like and using it to get approval for the spend, because they can see, I understand where the spend is going to go and how that will impact or what the results will be, and then using the same tool for communicating the results of the initiative. So funnel builder, it's a case that it's viewed in the campaign containers today. And it's a case that, yeah, hopefully you see this as a useful tool in your arsenal for driving results, communicating results, and of course, branding results.